Morning, Dan and Amy. Donald Trump has tweeted his reaction to the crash of that Egypt airplane overnight that was traveling from from Paris to Cairo.
I hope he was sensitive.
He tweeted, "Looks like yet another terrorist attack. Airplane departed from Paris. When will we get tough, smart, and vigilant? Great hate and sickness." And we don't know that yet, but certainly there are some indicators that something other than pilot error or mechanical error were at play with the crash because because there was no distress call that has been reported to this point. And there was communication with the pilot, and then the pilots went dark, and then they went into the Mediterranean.
Yeah, and 2 minutes after they last spoke with Greek civil aviation authorities, one of the pilots checked in. 2 minutes after that, when they went into Egyptian airspace, the plane went 90 degrees right, then 360 degrees left, and then it just disappeared off the radar screen.
So we don't know for sure yet. We're updating this as information becomes available, but particularly thinking about the Egypt airplane crash that was bombed out of the sky with tourists that were vacationing in Sharm el-Sheikh last year, Russian tourists, and then Russia subsequently banning Egypt Air from its airspace. You have to at least contemplate the possibility of a terrorist attack. So we'll continue to update that as we know. But turning to the Clinton Foundation, and this is going to be an issue that reasserts itself in a general election. So all the talk last year into the fall when that book by Peter Schweitzer, Clinton Cash, came out about the Clinton Foundation, its curious accounting, its curious relationships, the funding that it accepted, that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton had agreed as a predicate to Hillary being elevated to Secretary of State. They had agreed with the Obama administration they would not accept. All kinds of questions, including, I should say, the FBI investigation looking into her email server. Also, a lot of reports suggesting that they are also looking into how she used the Secretary of State's office in connection with the Clinton Foundation. Was she leveraging the office to do the bidding of the Clinton Foundation? A lot of questions here. Well, Charles Ortel, who is an investor and gained a financial analyst, and gained a recognition back in 2008 for correctly identifying problems with GE's financial statements. He has now set his sights on the Clinton Foundation, and he spent the last 15 months investigating the financial reporting of the Clinton Foundation. And let's find out what he found out. We welcome Charles Ortel, private investor based in New York, financial analyst, to the show. Charles, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
So what were some of the highlights from your year-plus investigation into the Clinton Foundation?
Well, it's actually a pretty sad set of findings. And you start with the fact that a presidential charity actually is a perfect vehicle for fraud, because who would suspect that anything operated by a former president, whatever your politics may be, would allow itself to be submitting documents to the federal government and then to all the states, including your own state, Illinois, that are false and materially misleading, and then raising billions of dollars, choosing to declare only some of those as incoming receipts. So what I did, I actually am interested in setting up a new business, catering to people who believe this country is exceptional, who have wealth, who want to keep it, and who like to find good charities in which they'll send some money. And I decided, hearing about the Clinton Foundation was so complicated, that I ought to look at its papers to understand what was really going on. And last year, I reached the conclusion it was a fraud. And I wrote an article for Breitbart in March, and I began then putting detailed reports up on my site, www.charlesortel.com. And then I started contacting state authorities, and nothing happened. And it finally reached a point where I said, this is such a big fraud. People are sending money into this thing as we're on the radio right now. They solicit using the Internet. They have not turned off. They haven't corrected their false and materially misleading forms. And I'll give you an example of somebody who's been defrauded. A very famous person, I may not pronounce his name properly, is Fred Eichner,
Yeah, sure, in Chicago, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he, starting in 2004, his very well-run foundation called the Alphawood Foundation, all of these papers are publicly available, shows that that foundation gave money to an entity called Clinton Foundation HIV AIDS Initiative, Inc., which was never formally approved as a charity. And these grants are substantial. And the monies then went supposedly into China to fight HIV/AIDS. Well, the Chinese charity fraud penalties are severe. Death is the penalty. And if you're not registered properly in the United States, you cannot possibly be registered properly in China. And that's just one small example. We're talking there about less than 10 million cumulatively into the Chinese example.
Well, Charles, before we dig any deeper, just remind us again, who benefits from the Clinton Foundation? Who has been helped by them?
Well, it's virtually impossible to say because foundations of this size are required to provide an audit, a real audit, not a fake audit. And these audits generally are quite tough. You check and double check that the amounts sent to the foundation were received by the foundation. This entity, which started October 23rd, 1997, has never gotten a real audit. So they like to claim that the biggest operation is fighting HIV/AIDS, but that operation was never lawfully authorized anywhere. And there are big holes in amounts that people claim they've sent. The biggest donor to the Clinton Foundation is a group in Switzerland, which says it sent $600 million to the Clintons for this operation, for HIV/AIDS. Well, the entity that performs that group, that work, that initiative, is based in Boston and had its license to operate involuntarily revoked on March 31st, 2008, as the Clinton Foundation was receiving from the Swiss thing several $100 million, of which about $100 million disappeared in the period 2007 to 2008. So nobody seems to have done the kind of cross-checking that you can do, that I've been doing for the last 15 months. Unitaid, which is that donor, publishes public financial statements which are online. And the Clintons are online, and they don't foot. The Gates Foundation has given money. Its disclosures do not foot. Governments have given money. Those disclosures do not foot. And actually, this is an Illinois issue. Bill Clinton is the honorary chairman of the American India Foundation, another fraud that has recently held a fundraiser in Illinois, even though it had its license to operate revoked twice. And I happen to know Bruce Rauner. I've spent some time with him. He's a great guy, and I think he may have the problem that many states have, that the apparatus, the regulatory apparatus of these charities is controlled by Clinton allies.
Well, right, like Lisa Madigan, the Attorney General here, in terms of any investigation, in terms of improper paperwork, or as you suggest, the dissolution or never filing paperwork, or the dissolution of charities, and so kind of the oversight there. It's interesting. So Fred Eichner, who's a billionaire, kind of leftist donor and philanthropist, and this American India Foundation in Illinois. Is this just a case, like the Clintons have said in the past, when they've had to refile tax returns, a little sloppy bookkeeping? Maybe we didn't file the right papers, kind of blame the accountant game. But that all the work is real and all the money that's been received has been put to good use. Is that possible?
It is absolutely impossible. Let me give you another piece of the puzzle. A central figure in these frauds is someone who spent time in your city, a man called Rajat Gupta, who was chairman of McKinsey and who has spent some time in prison recently for insider trading. He began to get involved with the Clinton Foundation, the American India Foundation, in January 2001. And the public record shows clearly that Rajat Gupta was working with Vinod Gupta, no relation, of Info Group. And that's a case where Info Group, this Vinod Gupta guy, looted money from a publicly traded company and sent it through an LLC, a corporation in Nevada called MindSpirit, into the hands of Bill Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, and Hillary Clinton between 2002 and 2008. And that is a matter of public record. So Rajat Gupta was also centrally involved as a co-chairman of the American India Foundation. And I've trying to get people to put these links together. I mean, this is a matter of grave concern to me personally, because I care about good charities. I should hasten to add that I'm not interested in elected politics. I don't like either party. I don't like the Clintons. I don't like their track record. But, I'm not a political operative. I have no interest in being in any government role whatsoever. I just feel that, it's actually the poor people, the bottom 80% of this country gives the most to charity, And they expect a charity with a president's name on it to be run properly. And so I want to make sure this thing is exposed. I want to make sure that people who are guilty of fraud are punished mercilessly. And I think this should be a good example to make sure people around President Obama, when he operates the charity that's being set up in your city, that they operate it scrupulously, because a presidential charity can do a lot of good work if it's run properly.
So, I mean, are you suggesting that what the Clinton Foundation effectively is like the charitable version of Bernie Madoff, that the money being sent is real, but all of the work is imaginary and it's just being used for lavish lifestyles for Clinton Inc.?
That's exactly what I'm suggesting, and the scale is massive. It's not simply the Clinton Foundation. In addition, Rajat Gupta and the Clintons have been involved with something called the Global Fund, which is a gigantic fund that is a fraud, that is run with taxpayer money around the world. Rajat Gupta was chairman of that. There's a $13 billion fraud in Haiti, where the people, I've been on the phone recently with some aggrieved people in Haiti, and the record suggests that the Clintons have been operating a massive scam, and the people in Haiti are poorer than they've ever been. So it really is. This is an area where I think people on the left and the right can agree that whatever the purpose of the charity, whether it's progressive or conservative, a charity should be run as a charity and not as a scheme to enrich the insiders who are around the charity and government leaders who want to live high once they leave their government position. This is an awful track record, and the evidence is there in the public domain, unlike Schweitzer stuff. You can find this just Googling, as I have done.
It's surprising that they're not in jail.
Well,
I mean, really.
Charles Ortel, private investor based in New York. We're going to be continuing to watch your work as you do your kind of one-man investigation of the Clintons. CharlesOrtel.com is the website where you can get more details on everything that you've discovered through your research. And we look forward to speak with you again. Thanks so much for your time.
Anytime.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the